The massive Imperial scout ship hung silently in the darkness of space, its sleek purple-black hull absorbing any light that dared touch it. Inside the observation deck, first observer Robert watched the blue-green planet spinning slowly below. His six-fingered hand tapped impatiently on the control panel as the ship's sensors gathered data about this primitive world called Earth. Another barbaric species, he muttered, his crystalline eyes narrowing as he reviewed the information streaming across his screens. The humans were still burning fossil fuels, fighting among themselves over resources, and had barely managed to reach their own moon. Their most advanced computers were laughably simple compared to Imperial technology. Robert prepared his report for the High Council with a sense of bored routine. This would be his 1,000th first contact assessment, and he had seen nothing special about humanity that would make them different from any other species the Empire had conquered over the last 10,000 years. Military technology, primitive. Space travel capabilities, minimal. Social unity, fractured. Resistance potential, negligible. His words echoed in the empty observation deck as the computer recorded his assessment. Recommendation: immediate integration into the Empire as a Category 3 resource world. Deep in the heart of the Imperial Palace, 12 members of the High Council gathered to review Robert's report. The council chamber was a marvel of engineering, with walls that seemed to be made of liquid gold and a ceiling that showed real-time views of every corner of the Empire. The councilors' bodies were wrapped in ceremonial robes that shifted colors with their emotions. "Earth seems perfectly suited for our needs," said council leader Marcus, his robe rippling with shades of satisfied green. "Their planet is rich in rare minerals, and their population will provide excellent labor for our mines." A younger council member, James, raised his hand hesitantly. "Should we perhaps study them longer? There's something odd about their technological progression. They advanced from primitive flight to space travel in less than 70 years. That's unusually fast." The chamber filled with laughter. Marcus's robe flickered with amused orange patterns. "Dear James, always so cautious. What could they possibly do against us? Their most powerful weapons would barely scratch our weakest shields." "But their adaptability," James tried to argue, but Marcus cut him off with a wave of his hand. "Enough. We have an empire to run. Send Ambassador Thomas to deliver our terms. Standard procedure: 30 days to surrender or face annihilation. They'll submit just like all the others." Unknown to the Empire, their sensors had missed something crucial. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that officially didn't exist, General Kate studied the alien ship's movements on a quantum-enhanced display screen. Around her, dozens of operators monitored systems that humanity had kept hidden for decades. "They took the bait," she said, allowing herself a small smile. "Just like we predicted. Their arrogance blinds them to anything that doesn't fit their expectations." Her second-in-command, Major Tom, nodded as he reviewed the incoming data. "Their scan patterns followed the exact template we extracted from the crashed scout ship in 1947. They only look for what they expect to find." "Activate Phase 1 of Protocol Omega," Kate ordered, her voice firm. "But remember, we need to maintain our primitive appearance until the right moment. Let them think they've found easy prey." The room hummed with quiet efficiency as hidden facilities around the world received their orders. In underground bunkers, experimental weapons powered up. In secret orbital platforms disguised as space junk, advanced defense systems came online. And in laboratories scattered across every continent, scientists and engineers continued working on technologies that would soon shock the Empire. The first moves in humanity's greatest chess game had begun. The Empire thought they were watching Earth, but Earth had been watching them for much longer. They were about to learn a lesson that many others had learned throughout human history. Appearance and reality were often very different things, especially when dealing with humanity. The United Nations building in New York had never been so quiet. 500 world leaders and diplomats sat in stunned silence as Ambassador Thomas of the Galactic Empire finished speaking. His holographic form floated above the podium, radiating an aura of absolute authority. "You have 30 Earth days to surrender your world to the Empire," Thomas repeated, his voice carrying no emotion. "Resist, and we will turn your cities to ash. Submit, and you will have the honor of serving the greatest civilization in the galaxy." His projection flickered slightly, casting strange shadows across the assembly hall. The moment the transmission ended, the room erupted into chaos. Diplomats shouted in dozens of languages, some demanding immediate surrender, others calling for war. Security teams rushed to protect their leaders as accusations flew across the room. At the back of the hall, President Williams of the United States and Premier Lai of China exchanged a subtle nod. Both leaders quietly slipped away from the chaos, making their way to a secure room deep beneath the building. There they found other members of the Protocol Omega Council already waiting. The leaders of Russia, India, Japan, and the European Union. They followed the script perfectly, Williams said, settling into his chair. Exactly as the simulation predicted. Same threats, same timeline, same arrogance. Premier Lai pulled up a holographic display, technology that wasn't supposed to exist yet. Our deep space sensors confirmed their fleet positions. They're deploying exactly as shown in the files we recovered from their crashed ships. The Russian president, an older man named Ivan, leaned forward. "Then we proceed with Phase 2. "We have no choice," Williams replied. "Initiate the panic protocol." Over the next few days, the world appeared to descend into chaos. Stock markets crashed. Riots broke out in major cities. The media reported mass panic buying and civil unrest. Military forces around the world mobilized in seemingly disorganized ways. From their observation posts, the Empire's analysts watched with satisfaction. This was exactly what they expected from a primitive species facing superior power. Their behavioral models predicted a complete collapse of human society within 2 weeks, leading to unconditional surrender. But beneath the surface, a different story was unfolding. In an underground facility beneath the Australian outback, Dr. Helen and her team worked tirelessly on the final adjustments to the quantum shield network. The technology, reverse-engineered from crashed Imperial ships and enhanced with human innovations, would be humanity's first line of defense. "The Empire's sensors are still focused on our surface activities," Helen reported during the daily briefing. "They haven't detected any of our subsurface installations or orbital platforms. Their arrogance is their weakness. They don't even think to look for what they believe we can't have." Meanwhile, in a secret base under the Antarctic ice, General Kate reviewed the latest training reports. Thousands of soldiers from around the world had spent years preparing for this moment, learning to use weapons and technology that officially didn't exist. "The Empire thinks they're watching us fall apart," she told her commanders. "Instead, we're executing the largest military mobilization in human history, right under their noses." In orbit, disguised as debris and defunct satellites, humanity's real space fleet waited silently. Each ship carried weapons that combined stolen Imperial technology with human ingenuity in ways the Empire had never imagined possible. 20 days into the 30-day ultimatum, Ambassador Thomas made another broadcast. This time, his hologram appeared simultaneously in every major city on Earth. "Your time grows short," he announced, his voice dripping with condescension. "We see your civilization crumbling. Surrender now, and we will be merciful." In the Protocol Omega Command Center, President Williams watched the broadcast with a grim smile. "Keep believing that," he whispered. "Just 10 more days. 10 more days until you learn why you should have looked closer at those primitive humans you dismissed so easily." The pieces were in place. The trap was set. Humanity was ready to teach the Empire a lesson about underestimating their prey. Deep beneath Mount Fuji, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Captain Jack stood before a massive screen showing Earth's defense grid. Hundreds of dots representing hidden satellites and defense platforms blinked steadily, all disguised as space debris. The Empire's ships moved between them, completely unaware of the web they were entering. Neural interface systems are at full power, reported Dr. Emma from her station. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls as she monitored the thousands of soldiers connected to the system. The Empire won't believe what they're about to see. The neural interface was humanity's greatest secret. While the Empire relied on complex computer systems to control their weapons, humans had discovered something unexpected. The human brain could process combat information faster than any computer when properly connected to their machines. In orbit, Commander Steve watched from his cloaked ship as another Imperial vessel passed barely 100 meters away. His vessel, like dozens of others, used technology that bent light and energy around it. The Empire's scanners, designed to detect their own advanced technology, completely missed these hybrid ships that combine stolen alien tech with human innovation. "They still think we're hiding in our bunkers," Steve said to his crew. "Let them keep thinking that." At that moment, in the Imperial flagship, Admiral Robert was growing suspicious. Something about the humans' behavior wasn't quite right. They had expected more public resistance, more desperate military strikes. Instead, the humans seemed to be simply accepting their fate. "Run another deep scan of the planet," he ordered. "Focus on their military installations." "Sir," a junior officer replied. "Our scans show their armies are in disarray. Their ships are in port. Their aircraft are grounded. They appear to be." The officer never finished his sentence. A new alert flashed across their screens. Something was happening in the Antarctic. On the frozen continent, General Kate gave the order they'd been waiting for: activate the quantum beacon array. Beneath the ice, massive generators powered up. They were based on technology recovered from a crashed Imperial ship decades ago, but humanity had taken the concept further than the Empire ever had. The device didn't just detect quantum fluctuations, it could create them. In orbit, Imperial sensors suddenly went crazy. The quantum distortions made their advanced scanning systems useless, reducing them to basic visual observation. It was like trying to read a book in a sandstorm. Impossible. Admiral Robert shouted as his ship's systems began to fail. "They can't have this technology. They're primitives." But humanity's surprises were just beginning. At hidden bases around the world, soldiers connected to their neural interfaces prepared for battle. Each one could control multiple defense platforms simultaneously, their trained minds working in perfect harmony with the machines. Dr. Emma watched the neural synchronization readings with pride. "The Empire thinks machinery must be controlled by artificial intelligence," she said to Captain Jack. They never considered that the human brain, properly connected, could be far more creative and adaptive. In the Protocol Omega Command Center, President Williams received the signal he'd been waiting for. "All units report ready," his aide announced. "Neural networks are synchronized. Quantum shields are powered up. Stealth fleet is in position." Williams nodded slowly. "Send the message to the Empire. Let's show them what these primitives can really do." In space, Commander Steve smiled as the orders came through. Around his ship, dozens of other cloaked vessels powered up their weapons. The Empire was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology. It was their ability to take others' ideas and make them better. "All ships," Steve broadcast to the hidden fleet, "prepare to shed your cloaks. Let's give the Empire a proper Earth welcome." The trap was about to spring. 20 years of preparation, reverse engineering, and innovation were about to be unveiled. The Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had judged humanity by their visible technology, never imagining what might be hiding beneath the surface. Admiral Roberts stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth through the massive view screen. The 30-day deadline had passed, and now it was time to show these primitives the might of the Empire. 500 warships moved into attack formation behind his vessel. "Begin the attack," he commanded. "Target their largest cities first. Show them the price of defiance." The Imperial fleet moved forward, their weapons charging with bright purple energy. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. The space debris they had been ignoring for weeks suddenly began to move. "Sir," an officer shouted, his voice filled with panic. "Multiple objects approaching. They're not debris. They're ships." Humanity's hidden fleet dropped their cloaking devices all at once. 300 vessels, each combining Imperial technology with human innovations, appeared out of nowhere. They had been hiding in plain sight, disguised as old satellites and space junk. Commander Steve's voice broadcast across all frequencies. "This is the Earth Defense Force. You are surrounded. Power down your weapons or face the consequences." Admiral Robert laughed. "You dare threaten the Imperial fleet? Your primitive vessels are no match for." His words were cut short as the first human attack began. The neural-linked pilots moved their ships with impossible precision, their human minds allowing for maneuvers that no computer would attempt. Quantum-tipped missiles, designed to bypass Imperial shields, struck 20 ships in the first volley. "Impossible," Robert shouted as explosions lit up space around him. "Their weapons, they're using our own technology." But it wasn't just Imperial technology. The humans had improved it, combined it with their own ideas. The neural interfaces let their pilots react faster than any Imperial crew. Their quantum weapons, reverse-engineered and enhanced, cut through Imperial defenses like they weren't even there. In the Antarctic Command Center, General Kate watched the battle through the neural network. Through it, she could see and feel what every pilot experienced. "Launch Phase 2, she ordered. "Show them our ground-based surprises." Hidden installations around Earth powered up. Massive rail guns, built in secret mountain bases, fired rounds at near-light speed. The Empire had never considered such primitive ballistic weapons, which meant they had no defenses against them. "Their shields are calibrated for energy weapons," Dr. Emma reported excitedly. "They never expected we'd combine physical projectiles with quantum technology." The Imperial fleet broke formation, trying to regroup, but humanity's ships were everywhere, attacking from all angles. The neural-linked pilots worked together like a single mind, predicting and countering every Imperial move before it happened. Admiral Robert's flagship rocked with another impact. "How?" he demanded. "How do they fight like this? Their movements make no sense to our combat computers." "Because we're not using computers." Steve's voice came back. "You relied too much on machines, forgot that the human mind can do things no computer can predict." The battle raged for hours. Imperial ships, designed for fighting predictable enemies, couldn't adapt to human tactics. Every time they thought they had a pattern figured out, the humans would do something completely unexpected. In the Protocol Omega Command Center, President Williams watched the casualty reports with grim satisfaction. The Empire had lost a third of their fleet, while Earth's forces had lost less than 10% of their ships. "Send the message," he ordered. "Let's show them what happens next if they don't retreat." Across Earth, massive hidden cannons emerged from mountains, oceans, and deserts. Each one was powered by a quantum core, capable of firing shots that could split an Imperial capital ship in half. Admiral Robert's face went pale as his sensors detected the new weapons. The humans hadn't just been hiding ships. They had turned their entire planet into a fortress. And this, he realized with growing horror, was just the beginning. The Empire's greatest mistake was now clear. They hadn't just underestimated humanity's current capabilities. They had underestimated humanity's potential to adapt, improve, and overcome. After the disaster of their first attack, the Empire changed tactics. Instead of a direct assault, they established a blockade around Earth. Admiral Robert was replaced by Admiral Mike, who had orders to starve the humans into submission. "Let's see how long their resistance lasts without supplies from their colonies on Mars," Mike said, watching the red planet through his ship's viewport. But he was about to learn another lesson about human ingenuity. Colonel Peter, leader of Earth's Special Operations, gathered his team in an underground base beneath the Amazon rainforest. "The Empire thinks they can win by following their standard playbook," he told his soldiers. Time to show them how humans fight when we're cornered. Their first strike came from nowhere. Small stealth ships, barely larger than fighter craft, slipped through the Imperial blockade using a new technology. By studying how deep-sea creatures like the octopus changed colors, humans had developed advanced camouflage that even Imperial sensors couldn't detect. "Sir," an Imperial officer shouted as their largest supply ship exploded. "We're detecting nothing. The attacks are coming from empty space." Admiral Mike watched in fury as 3 more supply ships were destroyed. The humans weren't just attacking randomly. They were specifically targeting fuel tankers and food transports. Even worse, they were using the Empire's own supply schedules against them. In the Protocol Omega Command Center, Dr. Emmett explained their strategy to the world leaders. The Empire's entire military runs on predictable patterns. Their ships must be resupplied every 14 days. Their crews must rotate every 60 days. Once you know the pattern, you can predict where they'll be. President Williams finished, nodding with approval. The Empire's frustration grew as human strikes continued. They would appear from nowhere, destroy critical targets, and vanish before the Imperial ships could respond. Traditional Imperial tactics were useless against an enemy that refused to fight according to the rules. Colonel Peters' teams struck throughout the solar system. They planted quantum mines in asteroid fields, forcing Imperial ships into predictable routes. They used Earth's magnetic field to hide their movements, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. This isn't how warfare is supposed to work. Admiral Mike raged as another supply convoy was destroyed. They're supposed to mass their forces. Fight us directly. Not this constant sneaking around. But humans had centuries of experience with guerrilla warfare. Each special operations team operated independently, making their own decisions based on the situation. The Empire's rigid command structure couldn't adapt fast enough to counter their rapid, unpredictable strikes. "Here's what the Empire doesn't understand," Colonel Peter explained to his teams during a mission briefing. "They think war is about who has the biggest ships or the strongest weapons. But humans know better. War is about making the enemy react to you, not the other way around." The Empire tried changing their schedules, but that only made their supply problems worse. They tried setting traps, but the humans would simply avoid them and strike somewhere else. They even tried using decoy ships, but the neural-linked pilots could somehow tell the difference. In her lab, Dr. Emma watched the latest battle data with satisfaction. The Empire's ships are running low on fuel and supplies. Their crews are exhausted from constant alert status. And they still haven't figured out our biggest advantage. "Which is?" asked General Kate, who was visiting the lab. "We're not fighting as individuals or even as separate teams," Emma explained. "Through the neural network, every soldier can share information instantly. Every success, every failure, every lesson learned is immediately available to all our forces. We're fighting as one mind with thousands of bodies." The Empire had started this conflict expecting a quick victory over primitive humans. Instead, they found themselves being picked apart by an enemy they couldn't predict, couldn't track, and couldn't understand. Their mighty armada was being defeated not by superior force, but by superior thinking. News of the Empire's failure to conquer Earth spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the Imperial Palace, the High Council chamber erupted into chaos as different factions argued about what to do next. "We must send our entire fleet," shouted Council Member John, his robes flashing angry red. "Crush these humans once and for all." "Our entire fleet." Council Member Mary laughed bitterly. "Half our supply ships are destroyed. Our crews refuse to patrol Earth's sector. And now other worlds are watching." She was right. On 1,000 conquered worlds, alien species who had submitted to the Empire's rule were beginning to ask dangerous questions. If humans could resist, why couldn't they? Admiral Mike's replacement, Admiral Tom, faced his own problems. His crews were exhausted and scared. Every patrol near Earth could be their last. The humans seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, striking without warning and vanishing before anyone could respond. "Sir," his first officer reported nervously, "3 more worlds have stopped paying their imperial taxes. They say if we can't defeat a primitive species like humans, we can't force them to pay either." In the depths of space, far from Earth, the first open rebellion began. An imperial tax collector's ship arrived at a mining colony, only to find the entire population armed with human-designed weapons. The Empire didn't even know how the humans had contacted these worlds. But they had. Through the neural network, humanity had discovered they could communicate faster than imperial technology allowed. While the Empire relied on quantum relays that could be tracked, humans had found a way to use linked human minds to send messages instantly across any distance. Earth's leaders watched the Empire's growing problems with satisfaction. President Williams met with alien representatives in a secret base on Mars, hidden from Imperial patrols. "Your weapons, your tactics," said one alien leader, their crystalline body shimmering with interest. "They could free all our worlds." Dr. Emma, who attended the meeting, explained, "We're not just sharing weapons. We're sharing ideas. The Empire's greatest weakness is that they think everyone must fight like they do." The Empire's problems got worse. Imperial ships began disappearing from their patrols, their crews deserting rather than face human guerrilla tactics. Some even tried to copy human neural interface technology, but without success. The system only worked with human brains. In the Imperial Palace, the final blow to the Empire's unity came during an emergency council session. Young council member James, who had first warned them about underestimating humans, stood to speak. "We called humans primitive because they fought among themselves," he said, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. "But that fighting taught them to adapt, to think differently, to find new solutions. While we grew comfortable in our power, they grew stronger through challenge." The chamber erupted again, but this time, many council members were nodding in agreement. The Empire had grown too rigid, too set in its ways. They had forgotten that true strength comes from overcoming difficulties, not avoiding them. Admiral Tom received the news with dread. Half his fleet had deserted. The other half was scattered across the galaxy, trying to prevent more worlds from rebelling. And still, human ships struck at will, now helping other species fight back against Imperial rule. In Earth's orbital command center, Commander Steve read the latest reports with a smile. "The Empire's greatest mistake wasn't just attacking us," he told his crew. "It was thinking that their way was the only way. They never imagined that their perfect system could be beaten by people willing to think differently." The empire that had stood for 10,000 years was crumbling, not from a massive battle or superior weapons, but from the realization that their fundamental beliefs about warfare, about civilization, about progress itself, might be wrong. The final battle didn't happen the way anyone expected. There were no massive fleets clashing in space, no heroic last stands, no desperate charges. Instead, humanity's victory came through their most powerful weapon, their ability to think differently. Dr. Emma stood in her lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing the Imperial Communication Network. After months of study, she and her team had found its weakness. "The Empire runs everything through quantum relay stations," she explained to the gathered world leaders. "Their entire civilization depends on instant communication, but they never imagined someone could turn their own network against them." President Williams leaned forward. "Can we do it?" "We already have." Emma smiled. "They were so busy looking for military threats, they never noticed us spreading our virus through their communication system. At our signal, every quantum relay in their network will shut down." In space, Admiral Tom received an urgent message from Imperial Command. Strange failures were occurring throughout the communications network, but before he could respond, his ship's quantum communicator went dark. Then another, and another. Across the galaxy, Imperial ships lost contact with each other. Coordination became impossible. The mighty Empire, built on instant communication and central control, suddenly found itself blind and deaf. Commander Steve's voice broadcasted on old-fashioned radio frequencies, technology the Empire had long forgotten. To all Imperial forces, your quantum network is now under Earth's control. Your ships are cut off. Your armies can't coordinate, but we're willing to talk. In the Imperial Palace, panic spread through the High Council chamber. Without the quantum network, they couldn't control their forces, couldn't collect taxes, couldn't maintain order. Centuries of relying on instant communication had left them helpless without it. Council member James stood up. "We must negotiate," he declared. "The humans have beaten us not through superior force, but through superior thinking. Perhaps it's time we learned from them instead of trying to conquer them." The vote was quick. For the first time in its 10,000-year history, the Empire would make peace with the species it had tried to conquer. The peace conference was held on neutral ground, a space station orbiting Mars. President Williams sat across from the Imperial delegation, while representatives from other alien worlds watched with interest. "We don't want your Empire's destruction," Williams said calmly. "We want change. Freedom for all species to develop in their own way. An end to forced conformity. And in return, we'll share our innovations, including a new, more secure communication network." The Empire's representatives were surprised. They had expected demands for revenge, for reparations. Instead, the humans offered partnership and progress. "But how can we trust that you won't use your advantages against us?" asked the Imperial High Commander. Dr. Emma stepped forward. "Because we understand something you forgot. Real strength doesn't come from forcing everyone to be the same. It comes from combining different ways of thinking, different approaches, different ideas." The treaty that followed changed the galaxy forever. The Empire became a confederation of free worlds, each contributing its unique strengths. Human neural interface technology was adapted for other species. The quantum network was rebuilt, more secure than ever. In the decades that followed, the galaxy entered a golden age of innovation. The combination of imperial organization, human creativity, and the unique abilities of 1,000 alien species led to achievements none could have managed alone. On Earth, Commander Steve stood with Dr. Emma, watching ships from 100 worlds dock at the new Galactic Council station in orbit. "You know what the Empire's biggest mistake really was?" Steve asked. Emma nodded. "They thought strength meant never changing. They forgot that the ability to adapt, to learn, to think differently, that's the greatest strength of all. And so humanity's greatest victory came not from destroying their enemy, but from showing the galaxy a better way forward. The Empire had tried to force the galaxy into a single mold, but humans had proved that true unity comes from celebrating differences, not eliminating them."